The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Tell Us Why, a podcast for the financial freedom community. If you're looking to succeed in your quest for financial freedom, make sure you join us every week as we, along with our guests, discuss different stories of success, how they were achieved, and how you can do the same. And of course, we ask them to tell us why. Here are your hosts, Jack and Mike.
Welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast. I am your host, Jack Dalrymple, here alongside my co-host, Mr. Michael Ketchen. Today we are talking with Mike Damon, president with Damon Financial, helping individuals and business owners create, build, and preserve wealth. Before we bring Mr. Michael Damon into studio, not in studio, on Zoom, Mike, what's going on in the business?
Good week, man. Good week.
Couple deals under contract,
Couple
maybe?
deals under contract. Sold, didn't close yet. Put under contract. First time selling a multifamily, which we're pretty excited. Great return. It's a good asset. Because we tripled our money in 9 months.
Good reason.
But it was it's going to be a good property. He's going to get it. But more importantly, got another 2 deals under contract, and we have a closing for our Central Acquisitions deal up in Keene next Monday. So a lot of good and exciting stuff. What's going on with you?
Beautiful, beautiful. The property manager thing keeps continuing to pay dividends.
Oh, God.
No big deal. No big deal.
Go.
Got a couple units filled up that I didn't expect to have filled up for at least another month and above rates that I would have asked for.
That is awesome.
Nice having a professional on the team that knows what they're doing. Unlike myself, filling units, not very good at it. So that's that.
Work on your strengths, eliminate the weaknesses.
Delegate the weaknesses.
All right, I'm pumped. We have a great guest today, as Jack mentioned. And he's a local guy, too, which is the best part. So we love seeing entrepreneurs do their thing. So before we bring him in.
Looked up to this guy my entire life.
Did you?
Legit. Yeah,
hopefully we get some dirt on Jack Dalrymple.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into that. But before we do that, when we hear who this week's episode of Tell Us Why is brought to you by.
Are you sick of being treated like just another number by large insurance companies? Do you want a more personalized experience with somebody that you can trust? With Keith Monty from Boynton's Insurance, that's exactly what you'll get. Keith is an experienced professional who can design an insurance plan tailored to fit your specific needs. With access to over 30 insurance carriers, Keith is able to shop numerous markets to find a price that works for you. So if you want an insurance agent that you can rely on and one that has your best interest at heart, then call or text Keith today on 978-241-2363. That's 978-241-2363. Keith Monty. He'll get you covered.
All right, so Mike Damon, a financial advisor with Eagle Strategies based in Medway, Massachusetts, employs a staff of dedicated financial and insurance professionals. The Damon Financial team their focus is helping clients interested in accumulating wealth and protecting assets while optimally managing income and estate taxes. Why did I struggle with that so badly? Mike, welcome in studio, or not in studio, on Zoom.
Thanks for being here, Mike.
Welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast is how I should kick it off.
So no pressure, Mike, but you're our first Zoom guest, so we're excited to have you. So.
Yeah, so a quick story.
Hopefully it goes well.
It'll be fine. If you know this guy, you can survive him for 20-odd years. You'll be fine.
So just to kick it off real quick, Mike Damon is somebody that I've looked up to legitimately my entire life. We grew up on the same street. We lived on the same street. He lived down the street. Just an embarrassing example of how much I looked up to this guy.
Oh, boy.
I had to have been like 9 years old. Mike's a couple of years older than me. He gave me a hockey stick. Like, granted, I love hockey. He was a tremendous hockey player. Probably still is. I know he coaches his sons and things like that. Okay. He gave me a hockey stick. It was one of those Czechoslovakian hockey sticks with like the thick heel, so it was a perfect hockey stick. The only problem was that I'm a lefty, and it was a righty. And I was so pumped to receive the gift from him that I shot righty the entire summer long.
That's a great story.
I am an ambidextrous hocky player now because he gave me a stick when I was 9 years old.
He was coaching without you realizing.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
So Mike, let's get into it. So why don't we start with where your business is at today, what you do. Let's kick it off there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can do a little bit better than you with how you just introduced me there. But so I've been in business 20 years. Right out of school, I started working in the insurance business, and mainly because my cousin got me involved with a company called New York Life,
Okay.
and with that, it rolled into the investment business. So we've been pretty well set up. I mean, Damon Financial now, we employ we have a pretty good staff. We manage a lot of money. We have a very big book of business, and things are good. Market's good, and
Market's been great.
Yeah. The market has
market's been
definitely
great, and business is good. So I'm 41 now, and obviously through social media, you're able to connect with some of the kids that you grew up with, and D Street was a very active road going on. And I actually learned how to be a switch hitter in Johnny's backyard.
Yeah.
So there we go.
The wiffle ball days. Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
The
so-
wiffle ball days.
All right. Well, we got the whole Hulk
Little green
connection
monster in the
going.
backyard,
All
yeah.
right, I like it. So, Mike, what I want to touch on briefly, because you just mentioned it, you are in this cycle right now. We know where you're at now. You're doing very well. But given the age of your business and coming up on this, what I'm interested in hearing about from my own selfish perspective is someone like you who's been through a few cycles. It sounds like you were even in this business back in '08, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started '01.
Yeah, so what I think is incredibly impressive is even as someone just meeting you for the first time, you've been through a few cycles. Can you talk about where we're at right now? We just went through COVID. What has it been like to see this rise, this fall, going through this as a business? Because as someone who's made on the other side, that's incredibly impressive. Jumping right into it, what has it been like the last year having this business in COVID, and how did it relate to previous cycles you've been through?
Yeah, well, this one was very different because in March, my business, which was 95% of face-to-face business, came to a screeching halt, and I was forced to learn Zoom because there was obviously the pandemic, and March, it was probably one of the scariest times of my life where I just didn't, the fear of unknown. And the benefit I had was I've been in business for a while, and I've been able to adapt to different things, and we were able to just set up my employees at home. I'm fortunate my office is a mile from my house, so I was able to continue working because the governor declared my business essential.
Okay.
And we didn't miss a beat. I mean, obviously, you can't really plan for a pandemic, but I guess the remote environment really helped save a lot of people, especially in my business, where now I'm going to continue on using the Zoom environment, the remote setting. It's an easy platform, and I can reach people pretty easy, and it's pretty effective. So
I've got a random question for you. I would think that financial advising is a local business. Does this allow you to take on clients from across the country in different markets?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm licensed in 14 states, and with the Zoom element to my practice now, I'm able to reach more people. I last year, just to give you an example, I mean, I usually travel to a lot of states, meeting clients. I get referred to a lot of people, and people want help. But last year, a lot of people wanted help all over the place. It didn't really matter what state. One morning I could be talking to someone from California. Afternoon, I could be talking to someone from Florida, Texas. So the dynamics of how last year evolved, I think it's going to continue on as we move forward, especially in my business.
Yeah, that's definitely fascinating. And I think that kind of is a perfect segue into you're thriving during this. You went through this uncertainty. It's obviously a testament to you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. So as someone who's in business, we can relate to what you went through in March. We're investors primarily in real estate. There was all that uncertainty. What I like to hear from people is you bet on yourself, you take action, you launch your own business 20 years ago. Tell me about that why. What made you say, I'm going to go carve out my own path? Because I know the insurance game, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of corporate type jobs. You went on your own path, and obviously it's worked out. That's easy in hindsight, but tell me about the psyche and the mindset to go bet on yourself 20 years ago. What was your why? What was that motivation?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing, hockey, college hockey, and, I was injured, and my cousin came to my school, and he basically convinced me this would be a good path for me to take. And obviously when you're in your early 20s, money has a lot of influences on people's decisions. And I would say that I followed his instruction and his advice, and I stuck to working hard, and I probably went a little bit over the top, and sacrificed probably 3 years of my life just working 6-7 days a week to get where I'm at. And I probably, if I probably could have done it a little bit smarter, but the way I grew up, the way I was trained as a kid, I don't know if Johnny told you, but my great grandmother raised me, and we used to go down Nantasket Beach collecting cans. And we used to do that, from like 6, 7, 8 years old. I was filling trash bags with cans. And so whenever I ever thought about not working hard, I think about my grandmother in 95-degree weather.
Wow.
Going down Nantasket Beach, filling trash bags with cans. And, that was one of the driving motivations to get to me, where I'm at now. So.
Yeah, I think when we met a week or two ago, you had mentioned, like, I'm not mistaken, right? You married your high school sweetheart, right? And you now have...
Yeah, we have 3 kids, but no, we met at, right when my wife, I think you guys were in the same graduating class.
Yeah.
Right after she graduated, that's when we met. And, we've been together ever since, So I would say, my high school sweetheart. I had my eye on her in high school.
You said something there I want to circle back to, because with our audience and the community we're building here, it's great to have. We have experienced entrepreneurs trying to level up. We have people seeking financial freedom. We also have a lot of younger audience who's reaching out looking for advice. And you said something I want to circle back to, because I think it's important. I want you to expand on it. You said when you're in your 20s, a lot of money sounds attractive. It's almost like that mindset has shifted a little bit as you become more successful. So what do you mean by that? What do you kind of focus on? What is your key there? Is it time freedom? Is it living life on your terms? How does that reflect nowadays?
Is it coaching kids hockey?
Yeah. Well, time management is very big in my life. I have to manage it. And, I'm able to do the things that I want to do because I have good staff. And, so I'm very focused on, I run a pretty good day-to-day operation. And, now it's about, different aspects of my life where I'm growing my net worth and, like the way I've always, lived my life. It's almost through my clients, where I have a lot of very close clients, very good clients. And if they do well, I do well.
So you're incentivized. So the relationship
that's really
piece.
Incentive-based to make sure, I really enjoy helping people out and helping them build their empire, building their future. And in return, that means that I'm doing well because, if you're going to take financial advice from somebody, are you going to take it from someone that doesn't have any money, or are you going to take it from someone that's doing well financially?
Yeah. What was it? The old Warren Buffett quote, if you take the... oh, man, I'm messing it up
You're
already.
messing up your quote already.
Taking the train to Wall Street. Taking your Bentley to Wall Street to get advice by somebody who takes the subway. Wow, I royally screwed that one up.
Yes, you did.
But
that's fine.
You did.
But we get the point. But, what you want to hit on and what I want to emphasize for everybody there again is hearing what someone like Mike just said. It's the same themes we've been seeing. And, Mike, what we love and what we get into is, you're our first guest. And I know you're dabbling in real estate a little bit now, too, which is great. We're going to get to. But you're also in the financial world, and you're seeing the same themes. Last week, we had on a restaurant entrepreneur. The week before that, we had on a blacksmith entrepreneur. We're real estate. It's the themes that always resonate with me. So I love meeting people like yourself where it's systems. It's teamwork. The minute we talked about your success, you threw it back to relationships and the teams you've built. And I really want everyone to emphasize that and hear that it doesn't matter necessarily what industry you end up in. It always comes back to those same themes. It's, it's work ethic, it's teams, it's relationships. And to kind of hammer that point home, we also had a saying on episode 1, which I'd be curious for your input on because you kind of just alluded to it. I tell people, and it's controversial, but it is what it is, be careful who you get advice from, because if they're not living the life that you want, they're not where you're at, sometimes it can do more harm than good. Would you agree with that, or do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, obviously, I'm in a trust business where you really need to be careful where you get your advice from, because in the game of the stock market, a lot of people will tell you all about the good scenarios, but they're not going to tell you about the bad scenarios that happen.
Yeah.
So you really need to be careful where you get your advice from. So I agree 100% with that.
That's great. That's great. That's a perfect segue. I know you had a property you want to get into. What's going on with that?
Oh yeah. So you recently picked up a property in down in Florida, right?
So me and my family, my wife, we love the area. We've been traveling down there a lot, and I was going to be. I was supposed to go down in October, but hockey season. I coach for the South Shore Kings, and it's very competitive. And as a coach, you kind of have to be there a lot. So, that cost me probably a couple $100,000.
Okay.
And one thing I did want to touch on. I mean, Mike, I know you give a lot back to your community. Like, I'm walking around town and I see Damon Financial.
That's awesome.
Plaques or a signage up around L Street and things like that. So I know you're doing a lot, giving a lot back. So I want to commend you on that.
That's a huge part of it.
The community greatly appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. My son's now in Little League, so very good to see.
Back. We have a list of things. Try to continue on what my grandmother did. She used to collect the cans and then donate it to Wellsprings and all the sports that I played. So we have a list of programs we donate to, and but getting back on the property in Florida, just so you guys know, so I go down there in April and I find the place that we want and we put the deal in and we close it and everything and circle back now. So this is, so we're in the end of June.
Yep.
Someone offered me over $300,000 more than what I paid for it, and I haven't even moved in.
So you sold it, right?
No. So this is my first, second home that I've went through, and so we're keeping it, and we're going down there in July to finish furnishing it and everything like that. So we're excited, but the property down in Florida has just gone up
crazy.
I can't even explain it, because I'm not that big into real estate. I bought my first house when I was 25 and left Hull and but this will be a different opportunity. Florida, we're setting up an office down there as well, and I just like the idea of having a place down in Florida. It's going to be my new second home.
I got to jump on that to kind of go back to the systems and tie it in. And I could be wrong, but if I'm hearing you correctly, tying this all back into assets versus liabilities and how we can transform something that on paper without context might appear to be a liability. Well, you're getting offered $300,000 above asking, so I'm assuming this is a pretty good location. You're setting up an office, so the people you're now going to be networking with, the goal is to become clients, and you're going to get to take advantage of some of the tax incentives with this property to transform the business and scale the business.
Business expense.
Context matters, and assets versus liabilities.
Yeah.
So, Mike, that's a great example, which I think is a perfect segue into our Addicted to Problem Solving, where every week we take a question and we put the guests on the hot seat. So you're going to jump on it first. You want to fire the question at him?
Yep. So this week we have a question from...
Joe's one is the winner of this week's Tell Us Why question.
He always likes to hear why people started their business. So his question to you is... Was it money-based, time-based, quality of life decision? Why did you go out on your own and start Damon Financial?
Yeah, I mean, well, my incentive obviously was, when you grow up poor, I think you want to live your life not poor. Mm-hmm. So I would say it was very money-driven, and just trying to succeed, do the right thing, and work hard. That's kind of the morals that I was raised by. And so going on my own, I didn't look at it as being a, scary proposition, because, I surrounded myself with all the right people. I've had great mentors, and, I still do. I mean, you get the right advice, you surround yourself with the right people, anything's possible.
That's a great
I
answer.
love it.
Yeah,
I
anything you want to add to that? Because that was a great answer.
No, I mean, I could not agree more. Hashtag bet on yourself. I mean, that's what we're all about. That's what we do.
That's what the community wants to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you
great.
just said it, the morals, and what I found is, and just talking to you and Jack talking about your community outreach, as someone, again, we told my story already, raised by a single mother, no financial literacy in the house. I have found those entrepreneurs tend to actually be not only the most driven, but also the most generous. And it kind of shows, because I think that backbone, that grit, that experience kind of molds you. So when I hear the stories about what you're doing in the community, how you're coaching, how you're involved, and then I hear the great story about the grandmother, I think it really all ties in. Yeah. And what we talk about here is you cannot control where you start. You can control where you finish. So get out of that victim mindset, take total accountability. It should empower you. And, you can go get the nice houses with $300K instant equity down in Florida. So,
so you're going to Airbnb those two, right? I mean, that house down in Florida was the intention.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, it was just, well, we were trying to just do it as a second property, and then, see how that goes. And then maybe down the road, we might consider doing it. Great
exit strategy. I own a few myself, and I can't tell you, especially from a tax standpoint, it's a great, they're eligible for 100% bonus depreciation and a couple other things that definitely is something that
connect you two on
it's
that.
It's great. Yeah, it's awesome. So that leads to the big three.
The big three.
We're gonna jump into it.
The big three.
So the hot seat.
These are the questions we ask every guest every week, and we'll kick it off with a college question. So, in your opinion, is college worth it?
You got kids, I know, so this should be very interesting because that's an expensive bill maybe coming through.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where one of my mentors, he was telling me this, you start a checklist of things that you want to do. And so I was fortunate enough where I've checked that off the list. Mm-hmm. So I've saved all the money that I have saved that I feel I'll need for college. And I've been fortunate where the money's grown. So, it all depends. I mean, if you're in a setup where the way I think everybody has their own opinion, but I think education, the more you learn, the more you'll succeed. And, it's definitely pushed. So I'm big into school. My kids all are, doing well in school. So I'm thankful about that. And, whatever school they decide to go to, I hope whatever career they decide, pursue, I hope they just work hard at it.
That's awesome. Great answer.
I like it.
All right. This is the one that I love hearing each week. What piece of actionable advice would you go back and give to your 18-year-old self?
Wow. That was a good question. I probably would have taken school a little bit more serious. I probably would have invested earlier. Mm-hmm. So I probably have a laundry list of things that I would go back and tell my 18-year-old self.
Well, I think your 18-year-old self would be pretty proud of what you accomplished. You think that one's hard? Wait to hear the next one.
Think about all the properties down in Hull at 18. If you had some money,
seriously,
scoop. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Buy a couple of blocks down there.
Yeah. So why don't you hit them with the hard one if you think that one's hard?
All right. So the last question of the big three is: what is one thing you would want your 90-year-old self to tell you when you're at death's door?
90-year-old self, I'd say, hey, if you told me something, I'd probably say, hey, you did it right, you did it hard, and you have nothing to regret and look back on.
I like it.
I
like it a lot.
I love that. And every week, everyone's got a different answer, but that was. It's always great to hear because we're all kind of in those different pivot points, and I think. An entrepreneur like yourself who's out there doing it, local guy in the community, great answer. Go back and listen to that again. Before we let you go, is there anything you want to tell our listeners out there, Mike? Any parting words you want to leave them with?
No, I mean, as far as, right now, I mean, in terms of the market, anybody that is looking at this, I always try to urge people, it's hard, but the younger you get into start saving for your future, the better off you're going to be when you're in your 50s and 60s. And
absolutely.
That was one thing, if I try to give back advice, and I was fortunate when I started working and was able to start saving money. My cousin, his name's Jimmy DeVito. He's passed away, but he was like one of the one of the best things he ever made me do was he forced me to stop putting away money in the 401k. I always try to tell people, try to start saving at least 10% of what you're making.
Absolutely.
You take $100 bill, and take $10 of that, put it in your left pocket. That's the pocket you never spend the money, and just keep doing that and doing it and doing it. And the hardest thing is to get to that first 100,000. Once you get there, it gets a little easier. But then, you want to try to set goals, and you'd say, all right, well, where do I want to be at? Well, one of the things that I wanted to do was to get to that 100,000. Then I wanted to get to 1 million, and then you get to 1 million, and then you want to get to 2 million, and then when you get to 2, you want to get to 3, and then you just keep setting up bars. It's kind of like, the same mantra Tom Brady has. What's your favorite ring? The next one.
I love it. Oh God, I love it. You have no idea. Greatest athlete and/or man of all time. All right. What are we going to ask? He gets it. All right.
He does get it. He gets it.
Where can we learn a little bit about?
Yeah. Can you tell the people where they can learn more information about you or get more information about you?
Oh yeah. Damon Financial. You can go to damonfinancial.com. You can Google my name, Damon Financial. You can pull up. There's a lot of interesting things on there. And then, if anybody listened that, needed to connect with us, I'm sure you guys or, they could reach out at any point, ask me any questions. No problem.
We have
it
all
was
the
great
links.
spending time with you guys.
All right.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Great day.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. See you.
And I can't thank Mike enough. And if you're interested in also getting some Tell Us Why swag, like today's listener question Joe's Wallen will be receiving, you can submit that on social media. And where are we at on social media, Jack?
Everywhere. YouTube,
Everywhere.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, basically everything. Everywhere. All the links are in the description below. If you're new and just listening for the first time, make sure you head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel.
And like I said, if you want to do something even better, come hang out in person. Come join us at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, Salem, New Hampshire. We're here every Wednesday afternoon. And the quote of the week.
Quote of the week. We got a good one this week. This is from one of our meetings. Everybody is fucking lazy. That's why they're everybody. Who said that?
Michael Ketchum.
I love it. That's it for today. Be sure to join us on next week's episode. And until next week,
Bet on yourself.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.